Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. I guess
It's been a while.
yeah, we've been MIA for a few weeks, and we're excited to keep this going. We had no intention of stopping it, and we'll continue doing it. We had several things that kind of came up last several weeks with different travel dates. We actually went almost 2 weeks without seeing each other.
Yeah.
We were both out of the office for some reason. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. It's going to be very, very not financially focused. We're not educating you on anything specific. We just want to talk about where we've been the last couple of weeks and kind of update you on where we are, and kind of on a personal level, a couple of things that I think some of you might find interesting. So Jennifer, you just recently had spring break.
We did. We had spring break. We had the big decision, right, of do you travel during this time? And we hadn't been anywhere. A year ago, spring break was when it all came down with COVID, and we were traveling home and hadn't seen people in gloves and masks before. And we did see people in the airport with these, very badly fitting gloves shopping. In the, we were in Mexico, and so we hadn't traveled in a year. And my daughter, who has wanderlust, she loves to travel, really wanted to go somewhere. And so we ended up just kind of taking the easy way out in a way, because I wasn't real sure we should be traveling internationally at the moment. And so, although we're comfortable with the COVID thing because I've had it and she's been exposed to it, although we don't know if she ever had it or not. So we ended up going to Disney. Which was always, and exhausting as always. She had her Apple Watch on, and we actually did walk 50 miles in 6 days. And so when I got back, I wasn't too excited about walking my dog, but we're out there. So, but it was interesting. Everyone was masked, and the only time you could take your mask off was if you were eating or drinking or at the pool. So the pool was like somehow a COVID-free zone.
We're okay without masks there at the pool.
Yeah, but it was really interesting from an economic perspective too, in that it was as full as Disney would allow, and there were people definitely.
Which they are limited, right? They are limiting.
I think I heard 35% of capacity.
Okay.
And they worked hard at keeping the lines socially distanced, and it was a unique experience for Disney. And they did try to make it as normal as possible. But we could get on some of the harder to get on rides faster than in the past. But people were there buying, spending, shopping. We went to Disney Springs, which is sort of the downtown mall. I don't know if it's actually a downtown of anywhere, but and it was just packed. So I think that really bodes well for future economic activity, that there is pent-up demand, I think, sadly, this whole COVID experience has made a wider chasm between the people who struggle financially and those who don't. And the people, though, who have managed to stay employed have pent-up demand. They haven't been able to go anywhere in a year. And so
sitting at home. And
so I think that will help keep our stock markets and our economy moving forward, and hopefully pull up the people who have struggled to support their families during this whole thing. So it was fun, coming back to spring. Daylight savings time ending has been, after Disney exhaustion, I'm still kind of struggling, as you could see on the meeting yesterday, right? I couldn't even find my words sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. And so you went on I think you flew out on a Friday, and you were, how days in the park were? 3 days?
We
4
were
days?
5.
Oh, all 5.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
we were really.
Very nice.
We do Disney, we do it.
You do all of them. And so 5 days, so you did every park.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there a favorite part?
Well, despite my age, my favorite is the Magic Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does Laura agree?
She agrees. She agrees.
Magic Kingdom is the favorite?
Yes. The other parks have a couple really cool favorite rides.
Yeah.
But for us, they're not an all-day experience. And although Laura is almost 15 and she's already thinking about walking around the world of Disney and at Epcot. And sampling all sorts of things. She did do that with the food.
That's one of my favorites, is the food at Epcot.
Yeah.
It's cool experiencing that.
Yeah, I couldn't do a lot of that because of my food allergies, but
yeah.
everyone else had fun. But it's fine. I didn't mind. I'm used to it, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Magic Kingdom is a favorite park, is there a favorite ride?
At Magic Kingdom or in the whole Disney complex?
I'll say both in general. So
I think the most epic ride in all of Disney World is Avatar. I think it's called Flight of the Avatar, and
that's newer, right? That's the last couple
It's only
years?
been there a couple of years,
Okay.
and it is phenomenal. It's like if you've ever been on Soarin', where you kind of are floating through. It's like that on steroids, but I actually have never even seen the Avatar movie, but there's those banshees.
Yep.
And you simulate riding
the
a banshee.
dragon things.
And I mean, you're like swooping, and I mean, there are a couple moments where you're like, because you think you're going to hit something. It is.
And that's in Animal Kingdom, though.
That is in Animal Kingdom, yeah. So that, I think, is the most epic ride in all of the world. Our favorite rides in the Magic Kingdom are two roller coasters. They're kind of medium roller coasters, right? They don't have the big drops, which Disney doesn't do anyway. But Big Thunder Mountain and the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Both hard to get on.
Big Thunder Mountain, yeah, that's a when we went back in January, couldn't get on that one. We tried.
Yeah.
But it was full.
The key is go first thing when the park opens and head straight back there, because
Yeah.
everybody else is heading straight to the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yeah, okay. Good to know. We did back, it was last January, in January of 2019. We did get on the Star Wars ride. Did you do the Star
The
Wars
new one?
Yeah.
Oh, the what is that called? Yes, we did get on that. Where you have to
Sign up
Yes,
within the
and-
first 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, now I think it's like 30 seconds. And,
Yeah,
and you
okay.
can't get on. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did. The Rise of the Rebellion or
Yeah,
something
something like that.
That was pretty incredible. That would be in incredibleness, I would think, second for me to Pandora. Avatar ride. Avatar is in the Pandora land at Animal Kingdom. But yes, that was pretty unexpected. And
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. We signed up, went to the park, and that's where.
that's in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah. Okay. So we went to Hollywood Studios and signed up, but didn't stay at Hollywood Studios. We left. We were only there to sign up for that, and we didn't make it. We got in, everybody got in, and we were outside the queue, so we weren't going to make it. But they still keep you in line. So if they move quicker, I think they estimate like so many of the whatever groups get in.
Yeah.
So we left. We're not thinking we were going to get in, and we were in line at Space Mountain, and got the notification that they were going to call us. Yes, and at the time we had already stood in line for 30 or 40 minutes, and ended up standing in line for over 2 hours. And I mean, it was the adventure of getting to that Star Wars ride.
I can't believe you made it over to the other
It
park in time.
was close. But I thought it was a pretty cool.
It is, and
experience.
most
It's so
people will
different.
tell you it's the best one there.
Yeah,
most
yeah.
people I talked to were like, "Oh yeah, this is by far the best ride."
Yeah, it's cool how they kind of bring that to life. You're not just sitting on a ride. It's
yeah. It was funny though when the guy interrogates you. You know,
Yeah.
we won't spoil the whole thing for you, but yes, there are some live actors in that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, it was good, and I think it was encouraging as far as kind of life in general is concerned, and I'm kind of was really glad to be back. It was so tiring, but it was fun.
So you got back Thursday of last week, right?
Right.
You guys flew back on Thursday.
Yep.
And then I left Friday,
Yes.
and I had mentioned
His adventure is more epic.
in some ways maybe. I had mentioned a couple times, and a lot of you probably know, I've been training for a race that happened this past weekend. So we left Friday, went out to Wintergreen. We stayed at a house on Wintergreen, and the starting line for the race was 11 minutes from the house we were at.
Okay.
We were kind of more toward the bottom of the mountain. It was up the mountain, but toward the bottom. And so what's the closest town? We ran up close to
Down or
W up.
Oh, Waynesboro.
Yeah, we ran close to Waynesboro, checking the weather for the race leading up to it. I kept checking Waynesboro was the closest place to
gotcha.
see the weather. So we left Friday. The race was on Saturday morning. It was a 50-mile race. I've been training for this since I decided I was going to do this race back in June, I think, last year. I attempted this race 2 years ago. So in 2018, in March of 2018. No, I guess it would have been 2019.
Yeah.
March of 2019.
Yeah.
Attempted this particular race. And at the time, it was my brother and I were training for a 100-mile race, and we needed to qualify for the 100-mile race. I had already qualified, so I didn't need to do Belmont, was the name of this one. So I showed up and decided I was going to run a little bit harder than I probably should have. And it cost me, and I dropped out halfway through the race. It was also really cold that day.
Only ran 25 miles.
I only ran 25 miles. Dropped out halfway. But after leaving that, I was pretty upset about having to drop out of that race. So in my mind, I've kind of, it's always been there, like I'm going to one day go back. So it was June that I decided I'm going to go back and do this race. And I didn't want to leave anything on the table, so I hired a coach. And that was kind of the plan. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to finish it. I'm going to be in the best shape that I can be in for this particular race. Hired a coach in July, and I've been working with him all the way up to the race. That is a whole story lesson in itself, which I've talked about, I think, on another video on how helpful it was to have a coach for this. And a lot of it's kind of weird because I've been running, virtually my whole life. I know how to train. This was not my first 50-mile race. I've run that distance before, and actually completed it before. So I've done these distances. I know what it takes to run a race like this or a run like this. The hiring a coach it's really easy. It used to be years ago. It'd be easy to think of I'm never going to run in the Olympics. I'm never going to win the New York Marathon or the Boston Marathon. That'll never happen for me. I'm okay with that. But those are the people that need a coach. It's easy to kind of look at this sport and think, well, because I'm not a professional, I'm not making money at this sport. I don't never intend to be a professional at this. I'm not the one that needs to hire somebody for that. But decided to, in July, kind of as I want to see what a coach could bring to my running, just to see how that could change. I was shocked at how much he was able to change my training. It was awesome to, one, be able to go out and have a week or two of runs planned that I didn't have to think about. I knew exactly what it was that I needed to do.
Because you had guidance.
Yeah. And none of the workouts were revolutionary.
So many analogies are going through my head right now. Okay, yeah.
There was a lot of life lessons in this. That's a lot of people there's lots of articles and books and stories that have come out and people gaining lots of life lessons out of running a marathon. And I would definitely recommend that, if that's something that is at all a thought on your mind to do that.
I will let you impart your life lessons from running a marathon to me.
Fair enough. Yeah. But yeah, so we did the race. It started at 5:30 Saturday morning. And I'll give you the finale right up front. I ended up finishing in 10th place. There were 91 runners that started the race, and I finished in 10th. It took me, do you remember the time? I just told you. 10 hours and 25 minutes.
Yeah.
10 hours and 25 minutes. So I was done at whatever that was, 3:30 in the afternoon.
Wow.
And part of there's a lot that I could get into on the process of this race. I will say one of the big lessons from the coach at the beginning of this race, he stressed, and there's a couple really big hills, 2 big mountains that we run up and down. And he stressed, he said, listen, when you go up the first mountain and then all the way down the next one, you're going to want to speed up going downhill. He said, but don't do it. You need to hold back on that first decline. He said everything in the first quarter of the race needs to feel easy as far as an effort. It needs to feel easy. Don't start pushing it. He said, because people they'll push it early and they'll drop out. At the beginning of the race, I was easily in 25th position. And I just keep seeing these guys passing me, going up the hill, going down the hill, and it was hurting.
I was going to say, how did it make you feel?
I didn't like that. It was not fun watching them pass.
Guy, yeah.
All I kept thinking, though, was I quit this race 2 years ago, and as much as I want to do well in the race, the goal is to finish. I need to finish this race. So focus on my own race. I'm just out here running for me. And I did that. I kept it easy, and it really paid off. I got to the turnaround to kind of speed up the race there, and felt so good. Like I couldn't believe how good I felt at 26 miles, turning around and heading back the other direction. And at this point, I'm thinking I've got so much left in me, so much room that I can start to speed up. And I did eventually. I moved into 4th place at one point.
Wow!
It was during that next stretch that This is another kind of long story short. I had a nasty fall, and found out later after the race that I actually broke my rib. So I'm sitting here with a broken rib right now, which is fun to deal with if you've ever dealt with that. This is not the first time that I've broken a rib. First time I've broken one running. But yeah, I'm guesstimating about between mile 30, 35 that was running down the hill, was moving pretty quick and had a big fall. And I was in such high spirits even at the moment that didn't even really stop me. I sat on the ground for a minute. There was a runner coming up behind me. I had just passed him a couple of minutes earlier, so he was still in sight, saw me fall. I sat there for a minute, had lost my breath. Just kind of got my breath back, and he caught up. Everything all right? I said, yeah, just got to catch my breath. And I did, and I got up and went right back to it and kept running and was still feeling great.
That really even makes your finish more
it's
impressive.
It makes me not feel so bad about dropping from that, fourth or whatever it was back to 10th. I'm still finishing. But yeah, that was one big, I guess, moment in that race. And then another was we got to about mile 40, between 40, 42, that I hit the last big climb. And the last big climb is a big climb. And I mean, unless you're out there hiking it is about a 30% incline. So there's I mean, even the winners of this race, they're not running this climb. Nobody's running it.
Oh, really?
Nobody. Yeah, because it's
I would imagine you're tempted to crawl at that point.
You almost could. You could put it's so steep. Switchbacks, if you're familiar with trails at all, it's going back and forth because it's too steep to go straight up the mountain. So it's a really, really steep climb. It's only a mile and a half. Like, it's not super long. But it was just at the time in the race, at that point that you've heard of people hitting the wall in a marathon. I hit a wall hard at that point. I mean, it wasn't even my ribs. I mean, it was like I wasn't hurting. That pain was still there, but it wasn't, excruciating. It was my legs. They were just so jello. They were so done. I told Lauren, I pulled out my phone a couple times and I had no service. And I'm pulling it out because I'm ready to quit. Like, I'm so close to the end of the race that I want to call somebody, or at least text my wife and say, you saw me a few miles ago. You're not going to see me when you think you're going to, because I'm not. They're out there waiting. And Lawrence had mentioned later that they were counting the runners as they came out, and when they got to number 8 is when she decided in her head that something's wrong.
Oh,
something's wrong. He should have been here already. But that was bad. That was a rough spot to be in. It eventually got to where I would take, and when you're in these races and going up a climb like that, it's not a smart idea to stop because it's so much harder to start again.
Oh, I can imagine.
So all I keep thinking is, don't worry about pace. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep moving your feet. That faded really quick, and I was like, and I got to a point. I was like, I'm just gonna stand here for just a second, and I would just stand for just a couple seconds, and then I'd start going again, and then it was a couple seconds. I mean, maybe 20 yards later, that I would stop again, and I was like, all right, I got to take another break. I did that twice, and then I went another 20 yards, and then this time I made a big mistake of I'm just going to sit down for a minute. And there's no seat. I just sat down right in the woods on the side of the trail, sat down. Starting this climb, I passed 3 runners, 2 hikers and 1 runner. I guess, all 3 of them were in the race, but 2 of the guys were walking and 1 of them was running. And the runner I had seen several times. I met him on the trail during the race. So Evan, he knew my name, and as soon as we got to the hill, he stepped aside. He was like, "You're much faster on these hills than me. You go right ahead." And I started walking, and I did kind of get away from him a little bit, but then it hit me so hard. I sat down. And then I got up a couple times, would walk a little bit further. I sat down again. I got up again. I'd walk a little bit further. And I say further. I mean, it's the length of our lobby.
Him?
I was still ahead of him at this point. Yeah. But the last time that like my walking distance just would get shorter and shorter, that I just get less and less, gain on this. And I'm so close to the top of the mountain at this point. And then finally I laid down. And genuinely, I'm thinking, I've got hours before the cutoff of this race. I'm going to finish this race. I'm just going to lay here for a few minutes. Like just let my legs rest. I'm thinking like, even if I laid here for 15 minutes, which is a long time to be just sitting there on the side of the trail, I can't move. I can't get up. I can't get any further. I sat there. Evan comes by and he's like, man, are you doing okay? And to Evan's credit, he's saying all this, but he didn't stop. he kept walking. He slowed down. He was talking to me, but he's like looking back, talking to me. He said, "You doing all right?" He said, "Do you have any food?" This was pretty pivotal advice because I did. I had I brought this as an example. I actually went through about 25 of these. They're gross. They're not good. But if I hold it up close, you can see it's got some calories, and it's in a very gel form.
So easy to digest.
Yeah,
so
it's
it
like,
won't make you feel sick.
It is like
to have like a
jelly
brick of food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's easy to digest. So I would pour. I had this soft flask. It was a little bit bigger than this, and I had a bunch of it in there, and I had that on me. But the thing was, I wasn't feeling weak from a calorie standpoint, and I know what that feels like. You know, to go without calorie or sustenance. So I wasn't feeling that. So he mentioned that. He said, "Do you have any food?" And I was like, "I do, but I'm not hungry. It's just my legs." And he said, "Man," he said, "you should eat it." He said, "Take it." He said, even if you just take it and put it in your mouth and just hold it there," he said, "sometimes that helps." And I'm your thoughts were my thoughts. I was thinking the same thing. But at this point, I'm thinking, I've got nothing else to try. I don't know what else to do. So I did. I pulled it out. I just squeezed some of that into my mouth and just held it there for a few minutes. And I don't know if that's what helped me finish, but the next time I got up, I did. I got to the top, finished the race.
Interesting.
Beautiful country being out there. It was a gorgeous day. It was really, really pretty. And the whole time that I'm out there in the 10 plus hours, I took one picture in the whole race. And I'll have to maybe post this separately, but the one picture that I took was a sign on the course that said 1 mile to go. As beautiful as some of the scenery was that I saw, that was the thing that was most exciting to me. Crossing the finish line. I mean, I remember, I can't even talk about it too much because I'll get emotional thinking about it now. But I remember my 6-year-old coming over and asking me why I was crying because I was in tears, and it was truly, like, I had explained to her that I put so much into training for this race and working toward it. It's so great to see it finished. And those tears started as soon as I saw the finish line.
Wow.
Like, I saw the gate and I knew this is my last turn, and all of that started flooding back. Like, it's been 8 months of long weekends, long running. I put a lot of work into this.
Some of your training runs were longer than marathons.
Yeah. It's been a lot.
So
that's what I did over the weekend.
It's making the Avatar ride look a little lame.
Yeah.
But gosh, there's so many life lessons in that about perseverance and taking coaching from others, and which can be applied financially and other aspects of your life, right? And the grit of pursuing a goal.
Yeah.
And kind of when you were talking about being what you'd never be an Olympian or, the winner of the Boston Marathon, I think too, there's analogies with our financial lives, and people think, if they'll never get there, they'll never get far enough. But you kind of, because there's always somebody wealthier than you. Yeah. Right. But there's so much that can be accomplished with perseverance and coaching, and that there is, a lot to be gained from other people's wisdom. Yep. And but it's just so impressive that you got that race done. You ran that when we first started talking for you to come here. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
You were like, I'm like, so how was your race? And you're like, well, it's a long story.
Yep.
So that's a really cool thing. And so the big question now is what's next? And
I don't have that answer yet either. That's my coach emailed and said, so now that you're a couple days out, what's the next goal? And all I know is with my kids that a lot of you guys have seen, or at least know that I have 4 little kids at home. I'm not willing to continue sacrificing Saturdays. You know, that's a fun time to be home with family, and and it was okay for a season, and maybe we'll be okay again in the future, but not right now. So whatever the next goal is, it's got to be a little bit less training. So we'll look at a shorter distance or a flatter distance, so there's not so much mountains, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sorry you're in pain, but it is quite impressive that because one of our biggest views of videos was your title was I ran 20 miles this weekend, and that was just a training run. So it really, people are impressed as well. They should be. It's really a phenomenal accomplishment.
Nice. I enjoy doing it. So we'll get back on here again. Yeah. We have several topics that we want to talk about, things like cryptocurrency. Looking at Bitcoin is popular. Yep. We just went through the Social Security training a couple weeks ago, so we want to talk about some of the lessons that we learned out of that.
Probably some college planning will come up as well. So, there's lots to tackle. We'll not only continue these Facebook Live events, but also look for webinars that we have planned, probably starting May or June, as far as so we can really dig into some deep subjects. And
the intention, I think, for those is to be longer than an hour or longer than the time that we're doing these, and maybe even specific advice depending on who can get on those. But
for sure. So keep your eyes out, and as always, email us or call us with questions. Our website is summitfinancialpartnersrva.com.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.